Well, hello all, Game Methuselah. I hope everyone's surviving the assault of the White Dragon. It's been pretty brutal. I wanted to talk about something a little different than what I had planned on. And the reason is my buddy Matt did not only a running the game video, but a live stream on engaging your players. And he's talked about this before, and I've talked about it before, and pretty much everybody's talked about it before. And it's an interesting thing to look at engaging your players because I find it is the major game master lament. So I thought I would, of course, put in my 2 cents. But before I start, I was going to ask you to do me a favor. Now, I appreciate all my patrons and I really like it. And you can sort of judge how well you're doing by sort of how many patrons you have. So, I know where my position in the world is. But I note a lot of things happening with the tough economy and everybody being in a high-stressed era now. It's hard to move things forward. But I think there's something I keep thinking about that I'd like you to consider. When you watch things on social media, a lot of people do the thumbs up or they respond and they talk about it and or they do likes. The most important thing I think you can do is share. If you like something, share it with your friends, whatever social media you're on. And tell people, I like this because, and I think you should take a look at it. Now, you don't realize sometimes who's out there maybe watching you, who's going to really fall in love with something that you like. So I tend to like to do this. I mean, I've talked about the history guy. I've talked about Mike Mordor and the Goblins of Mordor, Puffin Forest, I really enjoy. And I think these are people that I love to watch, and I think you guys should give them a look because it's really worthwhile. Now, what was interesting is I got in a small conversation this weekend with a guy named Sean Drake. He and his wife, Navi, basically are both on Twitter, and they have a blog. And let me put my eyes on because I won't be able to read any of this without it. But they're basically called drakeanddice.com. It's a blog on making adventure things for your campaign and how to do stuff, kind of like sort of the videos I do on the how-tos and the what-tos and sort of like that. It's kind of really professional, looks really good. Part of what they're looking to do here is promote a new set of game rules that I think they would like to get produced. It's called Court of Blades. It's basically sort of a Renaissance sort of Three Musketeers fantasy setting, which seemed kind of cool to me. I mean, I've played Old West, I've played sci-fi, I've played a whole bunch, but I haven't yet gone into that. This looked kind of neat and interesting and different. If nothing else, it's always fun to look at what other people are doing and get involved. And since they are absolutely on the ground floor, you could be a real influence and benefit to someone like this. Whenever you're doing this, and I know it's self-serving, always when you see something that you like, especially if I do it, share it with your friends. Let them come on and take a look at it. I mean, maybe I'm just pompous or something's going on, but it's just interesting to know what people are thinking out there. How to engage players in your game seems to be a major problem. And people talk about all the ways they do it. And, Matt does it a lot, and I do it a lot. And a lot of people have done it over the various months and years in trying to explain to you what to do with maps and things and like to do. And that's all important. But really, I think when it boils down, it breaks down to basically just 3 things to start. First of all advantages and gifts that you give players are only valuable in a coin of their realm. And what I mean by that is, if I play a highly detailed miniature long combat game with, terrain, and I set stuff up and I do these long battles that take half the evening, there's going to be a lot of role players out there who are just not going to like that. And it's not going to matter how fabulous what I'm doing is or how fabulous I think it is. It really matters what they think. So I have gotten involved with groups in the past where, they just want to sit around in high chairs and talk it all out and basically roll some dice, and that determines the outcome of the encounter without some long laid out battle. This is my wife. She's a really fabulous role player, but she could care less about the mechanics of running the battle. Now, she's done some really cool stuff one-on-one with me, with role-playing, and done things that were just unbelievably cool. And I'd love to get into how, that would affect the game in the future. But when she gets together with a group of people and we're running detailed combat battles, she just doesn't care. Now, she loves my gaming, she loves the video, she loves the painting, she loves my stories, she loves all of it, but It's not her cup of tea. And that's something when you're looking to engage players. You have to engage them on what it is they want. Now, if you run into players who obviously do not sync with you and they're not interested at all in the way you like to run games, you don't want to stick the square peg in the round hole and make their life difficult and uncommon. Either step back and run a game for them like that they would enjoy and see where it goes. I've done this in the past. Again, it isn't my cup of tea, so I tend to always stick to the people who are more board game, miniature game oriented type things. And that is the thing that I'm drawn to, and that is the things that I normally game master and run to. And if though you've watched any of my videos, you can kind of see that's the case. The next thing, and I think it's maybe the easiest thing, is when you are starting out with a new group, do something simple so you can see how the characters will mesh with each other, how well they work together, how well they fight together, how well they're going to go. And if they don't like their characters, maybe they can now change them or modify them or do what else. And I think this is really important, that you give players starting out a lot of leeway into sort of kind of modifying things up in the beginning, because especially if they're new players, they're not going to necessarily be very savvy. And even if they're experienced role players, you might be putting them into a new game system. So something that sounds good and they think might be good, they run it in this system and say, ooh, I really don't like the way that character performs in this gaming system. So can I change to this or that? And of course, that's, for me, always an acceptable item. And the third, and what I think is really the most and pivotal thing in the game, give them the gold package. I am amazed, in all these role-playing systems that I have played since 75, that basically what they are giving you is the bare minimum of what the game should be for you to run. Now, they're not telling you that this is all there is, but they're just giving you this is the basic framework. Don't dip below this. Don't let your characters roll 2 dice stats when they should be rolling 3 dice stats. Don't start them out at 0 level, with 1 hit point and they get to pray for rain. It gives you what they think is the bare minimum way to run. The thing that's mystified me my entire career of DMing is often people play that for their whole game. Everything is stomp down the players. Don't let them get better. They go slow advancements, slow magical items. The idea is make your characters superheroes. Most campaigns that I have played over all the years, they're lucky if they last a year. If they go to 2 or 3 years, it's pretty good. If you've got a campaign that's been going on for 5 years, you are the exception to the rule. You have produced something and you have a group that meshes so well and they love getting together and playing, and now they've more likely all become friends. So it's a real great opportunity to just keep doing more and more. People talk about generating their characters. You want to start them out like heroes. It's really simple. You give them all 12 plus a d6. Or you give them a huge point buy. If it's a point buy game, instead of X amount, 32 points or whatever, you get 45 points to buy your characters. You start the game as heroes. You are a big deal right now. And you usually give them magical items to begin with and sort of notoriety. And that makes for, I think, a great jumpstart for games where people are experienced, know the rules, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. They want to play something more. And all of these things are led to the reason they're here. What is it? They're going to have to be reactive. Reactive means something very simple. If you start them out as superheroes, they're going to have a powerful mission and a limited time to do it. They're going to have to constantly react to what's happening strictly to fulfill their mission, because fulfilling the mission is the only thing that counts. Now, Maria, one of our DMs, ran a terrific game like this. We started out, and she said, this is going to be an 8-session game. And, it turned out to be 10 because, well, we lost a character and we had to go back into Hades and get them out and deal with the devil and all that. Just normal things that happen in role-playing. We started out and we were in ancient Greece, and we had the blood of the gods running through us. We were semi-demigods. And it was really fascinating. You had all these extra powers. We were playing fantasy trips, so we had maximum stats starting out. Instead of 32-point characters, we were like 42-point characters with lots of magic and lots of abilities. And Not only that, our initial encounter was a meeting with Zeus himself, and he put us on this mission to save, well, the gods. In my Friday game that I'm running now, we got our characters, because we're playing 4th edition, Dungeons and Dragons. We got them up to a few levels where I start to feel comfortable with them. But then I decided to do what I normally do in games. I throw the ringer in there. Now, I love giving away magical items, and I think that's great. But the one thing I had them do in this last mission, if you saw my last video on the running battle, is they got handed a box with a shriveled hand in it and the missive to run. Get this out of here, because the bad guys who are attacking our castle must have come for this. So they're running. They get away. It's a great encounter. Of course, they do what all good characters do. The rogue picks the lock to see what's inside, and there's this sort of shriveled up hand that just permeates the room with both magic and evil. Now, they start to guess, and they sort of think they maybe have the, well, hand of Vecna. It could be true. Now they have to react. Now it's no longer being murder hobos, maximizing XPs, everything else. What the hell do? We have the hand of Vecna. We obviously have major bad guys, the entire Fomorian kingdom, coming looking for us with their drow allies, looking for whatever this item is. Where do we go? We're 9th level. We're not 20th or 30th level. I mean, we're not the gods. But you thrust them into that role that if you don't do it, nobody's going to. You know, you can, if you want, go turn it over to some wizard, because I'm going to be all powerful now, and well, you normally know where that kind of goes. So they're now thinking constantly, well, we're going to go here, we're going to go there. And the feedback I get from the players is now fantastic, because they're involved. Well, we could go to this city and maybe we could talk to them, but I'm not sure that if we give it to the Silver Dragon, well, what's he going to do? Is he strong enough to stop the bad guys? Will he want to use it for himself? We don't know. Who can we trust? And that's what makes it possible. You can make the game unique in so many different ways. One of that I love to do is give the largest experience for fulfilling the mission. So you might fight the monsters, murder hobo, get some treasure. Yay, we're great. We've got all this cool stuff. And at the end of the adventure, it's like, okay, well, you got 500 XP for, the killing the monsters and 1,000 XP for saving the queen. And it's like, what? Well, we got the most experience for doing nothing? And I said, no. This is what role-playing is all about. This is why you want people to role-play. You want them to be interactive with the game. And this is how you make it happen. Characters are playing because of their own reasons. And the reason people are usually murder hobos is because, again, they're not getting the gold package. They're getting to play at the minimal stat where they have to Greyhawk the monsters and steal all the goblin swords after a battle to try to get enough money to buy themselves a +1 magical sword. That's not what you want. Now, you want to start that way, and you want to run a couple adventures that way, but then after that, hand them the hand of Vecna. Let them on the go. And then, as they're trying to figure it out on my Friday night game, they stumble into this monastery, being pursued by Fomorian scouts who are trying to track them down. And they end up battling these undead. And the undead fight, and they beat them back, and they do whatever, and they find the bodies of the clerical family that had guarded this little monastic order, which just happened to be the same god that our cleric follows. And what do they find? An artifact magic armor for clerics. Now, was this a random roll? No, obviously not. If you roll random rolls, you get crummy magical items once in a while, and occasionally you get something cool. But usually once you're way past actually needing those magical items. Wait a minute. Why did I get this armor? What does it mean? Why is it here in a monastic order of my people where they're all dead? And you're the highest cleric around. Maybe this is what you have to do. Maybe you have to restore the monastic order. Now they have personal missions. And you can do this with everybody. And you can do it in so many different ways. Now, Matt did something I thought was really cool. And you can do the gold package, as I said, in starting the characters at higher level. But Matt generated new characters that did different stuff. And he had one where it was a goblin rider, a ranger of some sort. And he got a big kitty. A really big kitty. A kitty that you could ride on that displaced time and space and had multiple tentacles and 6 legs. It was really cool. It gets people now substantially more engaged in the game. But you want to change the dynamic and put players in a position from now on, they're dictating what they're doing. They're not just showing up and saying, oh, what are we doing? Well, I'm running this module, and oh, yeah, I played that. Okay, that'll be cool. Yeah, no. Oh, we'll murder hobo here, and we'll murder hobo here, and we'll get this great stuff, and then I'll sell this item so I can buy this item. No. You want the players feeling exactly like everything in this world all depends upon what they do. And the truth is, it does. That's what's important. I'm a minimalist game master. That's why I always prepare 3 or 4 little adventures. I stick them in my 3x5 box, and I have them with me when I'm out there DMing. It's always there. I'm never usually using the 3x5 box. It just sits there with spiders and webs and stuff on it in my bag of goodies, waiting for some day that they're going to go off the rail. And now they're going to go down this path because they hear something that's going to happen. Maybe there's an oracle. Matt loved the oracle. Anything the players want to do, you should work to allow them to do, no matter what it is. Sometimes it seems weird. I think Don did something brilliant in one of his games. His wife, then girlfriend, had never played before. She's the Maria I speak of, who is a fabulous game master now and a great player. He said, look, you want to see this game that we do? And she was interested, and she'd heard about Dungeons and Dragons, and said, let's play. I'll run some adventures for you. So what he did, smart, is he drew up all the magical items on beautiful cards and made them look really awesome and gave them all kinds of cool abilities. Then he had all his paraphernalia and miniatures, and he ran the best solo campaigns you could possibly run. And Dawn's really good at that. And when we ran into her, she was chomping to play. She wanted to play so she could use all her really cool stuff and interact with the world and find out all the great ways that she could defeat the bad guys and become superheroic. That's what engages players. First and foremost, it's like I said, it is the coin of their realm. You've got to give them what they want. And if you look at their characters, it's usually not very tough to figure out what will really enhance. I don't have a problem with the biggest and greatest of magical items. As I've said before, it's not how high level their powerful magical items are. It's how it relates to all the other players. If one character has a bunch of cool stuff and everybody else has nothing, okay, that's a problem. But then the gold package allows you to, slip something special in. Oh, there's a rogue. He runs into a rogue guild, and it's been taken over by a beholder. And, we got to defeat this because this is horrible. And multiple other players are going, well, who cares? A rogue guild. But no, the rogues are stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, and that they're good. But now they're corrupted by the beholder, and they're doing horrible things. We have to rescue and save this and put the equilibrium back. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. This is all up to the players and the game master who's manipulating this. So how hard is it to have a dungeon that suddenly became a rogues gallery of guild hall goodness? And of course, if they go through it and they fulfill that and they kill the beholder, and they've done their bit, well, maybe, the leader of the guild goes, hey, we have this fabulous magical item that we have been waiting for a buyer. But you saved us and all that. Here is this great, powerful magical item. Or this map to a fantastic treasure where it's loaded with all kinds of gold from a dragon that apparently just recently died and no one knows about it. But of course, the Thieves Guild does. So the game becomes what I call Sandbox on rails. I'm still running the game. I'm still sort of leading it kind of in a path that I want. And I don't now know what's going to happen, which quite frankly becomes kind of exciting for me. The game becomes fresh and interesting daily for me. And that I really, really like. And I think what you're going to find if you do it, your players are going to like it too. Now, if you are running modules, of course, then you're in that position where you're running at that baseline, which is the stripped down car and not the cool one with the air conditioning and the fast big engine and stuff. And you can live with it. And if you're going to run a game twice a week for the next 3 years, you'll get a good campaign. But my feeling is make it powerful, make it big, make it bold right from the beginning. I mean, a lot of things you can do in a game that are just fun sometimes. The Ranger Wood Elf in our Friday game originally ran into a trapped succubus in a tower that they had to gather information from. And she said, if you will release me, I will help you. I know how to get by the traps and in there so you can get to the item you need so you can go save the day against the lizard men. And they're like, yeah, whatever, we really don't believe you. She says, no, I swear, I really have been stuck here for so long. I want to go home. I will help you, and then I will leave. And so they released her, figuring, well, it's only one succubus, we can kill her. And maybe they could have, maybe they couldn't have, but we never got that far. What happened is the succubus, of course, keeps her word to lead him to that. But no, more importantly than that, she becomes enamored with the wood elf and says, I could stay and help you because I really like you. And he's like, yeah, but I don't think we can go anywhere with you looking like that. And he said, well, wait, I can change my appearance into a wood elf fair maiden. And yeah, maybe, but no, I don't want you to leave me. I can't, shouldn't we go somewhere and we can talk and maybe have dinner and he's like, wait, is this girl hitting on me? And it's like, oh yeah, she seems very interested. And of course, wait, I'm not going to let that succubus kiss me. No, 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 no. And now it's been going on. So they ran into an encounter in the other DM's game. And it was a bunch of demons where they fought. And in that group, there was a succubus. Well, you can guess what the succubus was. It was the succubus from my game. And it's like, hey, here you are. I've been looking for you. And, it changes the dynamic. It makes people more aware of the world. Whether they like it or don't like it, they now have to be wary of what goes on all the time. They have to be making the decisions in your game, not the DM. The DM isn't saying tonight's adventure is. They're saying, okay, we made it to the village. We found the priest there. He's not as high level as you. They don't know what to do, but you know what? They're being attacked by gnolls, and the gnolls seem to be controlled by somebody, but they don't know who this somebody is. They're afraid it might be a powerful wizard. Maybe the same people who had those troll scouts hunting for you. Players don't think so because they think they're the Fomorians, which is most likely true because they came through from the Fey realm in pursuit of them. So, but this interests us and it provides a second mission. Now, they could go back and see what happens to the monastery. They could go and deal with the gnolls. Then there's other things that are happening. They could, and all those things are going to be their choice. And their choice is going to base upon what adventure I run when next we play. Now, I have no idea what that's going to be. So it makes it tougher on me, and I have to be prepared. And they may really go off the rails. But fortuitously for me, I've done this a lot, and I'm sort of able to do that. And I know a lot of you don't necessarily feel that way, but understand, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. The great thing about it is there's always great overland encounters. The great thing to do is if they're just going to kind of run around and do stuff and you don't know what they're going to do, prepare overland encounters at their CR, their challenge ratings, or whatever the game system uses. But there's lots of ways to fill an evening. And, like The Hobbit, like Lord of the Rings, there's always cool stuff in random encounters. I mean, a random encounter with trolls in, The Hobbit, but in that lair are cool, really cool magical items. Literally looking like 2 artifacts and a major magical item. And I don't think these characters necessarily were that high level. So what's wrong with that? These people now want to play this game. They want to keep doing these adventures because you've made it something more than Murder Hobo. Those things make the game better and better and better and better. And you engage your players. Now, I'm not saying you have to start at the top, but make it a little bit more than just the plain, basic, bottom line, this is what you get. Let people get whatever they want. You want to do a little something that's not in the rules, let's figure out how to make it happen. Once they're there and they understand how it goes, and it works well. In Critical Role, I think the barbarian had a throwing axe that had a chain on it. He'd throw it and he was able to pull it back. Well, that wasn't out of the rules, but it sure sounds cool and it sure worked well and it made the character better. Remember, the first thing the players are going to want to do is make their characters both unique and interesting. You need to work hard to make sure that they become both. And the third thing they have to become is powerful. Because once they are powerful, you can sort of release the dogs of war. Now the battles can be incredible and they can be super detailed. Whether you're playing a miniature battle system or sitting in chairs, you no longer have to just sort of grub in the mud. You can fight the nastiest, meanest creatures in the world. Said, hey, you can start them at whatever level you want. You can do it. I can run it. And that's a good attitude, even if you don't know how to do it. You just read the books and you figure it out. And it works. And players will forgive you as long as you are working hard to try to make their games both interesting and exciting and, profitable for their characters, and profit being maybe getting better and having more magic. In D&D 0, the coolest thing was you get up to a certain level, you have to build a castle or a wizard's tower or something really cool. And that really neat. And I like all that stuff. I love to see things go where the game expands and expands and maybe it becomes miniature battle games. I've played all of those and I love it. And you might not, but you don't have to add more than you can handle. My suggestion, though, is to get them really engaged in your game, give them things that are needed in the game. Maybe they're only temporary. The king says, you need to save my daughter, from an ogre. Here's a magic sword. It's really nasty. It slays ogres. You kill them, you bring my daughter back, I'll give you a big reward, and you can return my sword. So it doesn't stay with the party. Unless maybe they decide, well, you know what, we're going to keep it and become outlaws. Who knows? Again, the whole idea is you've opened up the world for the players to make all kinds of choices, and those choices will always engage them in your game. But this is the simplest and easiest and fastest way to get your game going. Now, if you're going to run a game for 10 years, you might not want to do it that way, but maybe you don't mind running 30th level in 4 or 5 years. It might be fun. Lord knows, I've never done it. Maybe someday, actually, I will. Maybe I'll just start people out at high level and we'll see how it goes. But you know what? Having run a character that went and recovered a major relic for Zeus was pretty cool. So I hope this is of some help. I'll come out with a new video soon. Again, if you get a chance, basically, if you like my videos or you like anybody's videos, share them. Get your information and love of things out there to other people so they'll come take a look. I mean, you guys all know that most of you more than likely came from Matt Colville. And if it wasn't Matt Colville saying, hey, go listen to Jim Murphy and doing the interview with me on a show, most of you would not know who the heck I am. And I would be having substantially less fun and people wouldn't be sending me money for coffee. So until we have a chance to speak again, fight me, devils, fight, for I hate peace. Keep warm and game on.